You ever notice how an idea just seems to be in the air? Like it pops up in two totally different places at the same time? Well, something kind of strange is happening in British pop culture right now. And believe it or not, it has a German accent. So let's get into it and figure out what's going on.
It seems like a simple question, right? But the answer, well, it pulls back the curtain on this really fascinating cultural mood that's quietly sweeping the nation. We're talking about a subtle shift that says a whole lot about the UK's relationship with Europe today.
So, check this out. On one side, you've got the UK's official entry for the 2026 Eurovision contest, a #1 hit called Eins, Zwei, Drei. And on the other, there's this weird, wonderful German YouTube show called Banalotopia that somehow found this loyal British fan base. A pop song and a niche web series. What on earth could these two possibly have in common?
Yeah, these two things right here, they give us a fantastic cultural puzzle to solve. They seemed completely random, totally unrelated. But when you look at them together, they might just be a sign of something much, much bigger, a sort of cultural echo from our very recent past.
Okay, so to crack this puzzle, we need to talk about a key idea that's been bubbling up. It's a term that I think just perfectly captures this whole vibe, Eurostalgia.
So, what is Eurostalgia? It's this quiet, almost reflective nostalgia for that time the UK was in the EU. But, and this is super important, it's not about making a political point. It's a feeling, one that shows up in music, in what we're watching, what we're eating. And that's really the key. The source material nails it, calling it not a political position, but a mood. The best way to think about it is like a cultural afterimage. Like when you see a camera flash and you can still see the bright spot for a second after, it's that, a memory of a connection that just kind of lingers in all the small things. To really see how this whole Eurostalgia thing is actually playing out, let's dig into our first case study, the UK's Eurovision song. And this is a great place to start because, let's be honest, Eurovision is pretty much the biggest cultural stage in Europe. So yeah, a British Eurovision entry with a German title is a choice. It's a bit of a head-scratcher, isn't it? It's an immediate, super deliberate nod to the continent. And it's not just the title either. Listen to this lyric right here. All my pounds, they feel counterfeit. I need some euros to counter it. I mean, come on. That is a cheeky, direct shout out to a time when hopping over to Europe and using euros was just normal for Brits. This song is definitely more than just a catchy beat. So you see, this isn't just some gimmick. Choosing Eurovision, using a German title, dropping lyrics like that, it's all part of what one expert calls a playful re-embrace of continental reference points. The song is tapping into a memory of a time when these little cultural crossovers didn't feel like a big deal. They just felt ordinary. All right, so that's Exhibit A. Now for Exhibit B. And this one is, you could argue, even weirder. We need to talk about the strange magnetic appeal of a German YouTube series called Banalotopia. This show is really hard to describe. It's this wild mix of, deep philosophy, technology going wrong, and this super deadpan, surreal sense of humor. And for whatever reason, it's found a dedicated audience over in the UK. And it's a pretty specific crowd, too. We're talking mainly students, people working in tech, and fans of cult media. People who are often drawn to things that are a little bit out there, a little bit different. So why are they all watching a show in a language many of them don't even speak? Well, here's a fascinating idea. For a lot of these British viewers, the German language itself becomes an acoustic landscape. It's the sound of the language, its rhythm, its cadence. That becomes part of the whole experience. It signals a connection to this bigger European cultural space, even if you don't understand every single word. And in fact, this has actually been given a name, the Banalotopia effect. It's this surprising, sudden appeal of German words and ideas just popping up where you'd least expect them in British culture.
Okay, so we have the Eurovision song and we have the YouTube show, but are they actually connected? Let's try and connect the dots here.
The obvious question is there a direct link? Did the songwriters for Eins, Zwei, Drei binge a bunch of Banalotopia episodes and get inspired? Is one a direct response to the other? Well, officially, the answer is no. There's no proof the songwriters were fans of the show at all. But honestly, the fact that there isn't a simple direct link is what makes this so interesting and what tells us so much about how culture really works. The real answer is way more subtle and, frankly, a lot cooler. It's not about direct inspiration. It's what the source calls a cultural echo. Think about it this way.
Instead of one person having an idea and someone else copying it, it's more like the same idea is sparking in different people's minds at the same time because they're all breathing the same cultural air. They are both independently tapping into that same Eurostalgia mood.
So if we zoom out a bit, what does this quiet wandering of German-sounding ideas really tell us about Britain's relationship with Europe right now? Here's the big takeaway. Cultural connections are tough. They are incredibly resilient. They can easily outlast political agreements or trade deals. Even when the official rules change, the shared references, the jokes, the memories, they tend to stick around, right below the surface, just waiting to pop up in a song or a TV show. And it's in moments like this where you can really feel it. Just picture it. Someone in Britain finishes watching an episode of this quirky German show. They go turn on the radio, and suddenly they hear a pop song counting eins, zwei, drei. And in that moment, those two totally separate things connect, and the feeling is just familiar.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? These subtle little connections are everywhere if you start looking for them. So next time you're scrolling your feed or shuffling through some music, just ask yourself, what kind of cultural echoes are hiding in your playlist?